Welcome to the Lights Lounge, a weekly home for all things Las Vegas Lights FC. We are back for 2026. We'll be here every single week for a deeper dive into everything that happens on the pitch, including match previews and analysis alongside a new guest. Every single episode is going to look exactly the same as it did in 2025. We've got some exciting things for you. I know in our last episode that I said that we would be back throughout the offseason. Spoiler alert, we weren't. We didn't get that done, but we're really happy to be back. I know I've spoken with a few podcast listeners at a couple of our season ticket member events and excited to bring this series back to you guys in 2026. If you enjoy it, if you want other people to find it, remember to hit the like and subscribe buttons, the hype buttons, whatever YouTube's doing nowadays, so you don't miss out on any of our upcoming episodes. A new USL Championship season is upon us, and to chat about preseason, our roster build for the 2026 season, and this Saturday's season opener at Orange County, we have our first guest of the year, Sporting Director Gianleonardo Neglia. John, welcome to the pod. It's your third time on the pod, I think, so getting pretty comfortable in the studio at this point.
I am. It looks a little different than the last time. Much cozier, much nicer.
Yeah.
But happy to help be here.
Let's dive straight into it. I want to be nice and efficient with these podcasts this year. And, obviously for you, John, at this point, you can go back to our old episodes if you want to learn more about John's story and John's journey and how he started here and what 2024 looked like and that whole thing. That story's out there. I want to dive and focus exclusively on 2026. So let's start with the roster build. I kind of want to go player by player, break down your expectations, why you made certain decisions in the offseason, and hopefully this serves as a good place for fans to start in getting to know the new roster for 2026.
Sure.
So let's start with the returners. We've got Carver Miller, Elias Gartig, Sean Smart, Edison Azcona, Patrick Leal, Giorgio Probo, Knight Pickering, Christian Pinzon, and Johnny Rodriguez. That's 9 returners from the 2025 squad. Let's start off with a simple question. Why are those 9 players the ones that are returning?
Good question. No, look, obviously those are 9 players that we believe in. Those are players that when we took stock of what 2025 was and the dust had settled and it was time to turn the page and look forward and figure out how do we get better in 2026. We identified those players as part of the future. We identified those players as part of the solution for what this offseason needed to be. And that's why each and every single one of them are back.
Yeah, I think 3 that pop out to me straight away from that list of 9 are 3 that struggled with injuries and we didn't see the best of them, right? Sean Smart, Christian Pinzon, who's been here. Both of those players have been here since the beginning of the build. And then Edison Azcona, someone who arrived kind of in that 2024 season. Yep. All 3 really struggle with injuries. And so do you view those 3 as kind of new signings? Like none of them really got to play more than 10 to 15 games apiece.
No, I mean, you look at Pinzon, for example, and you almost look at that one as a new signing. Christian didn't play after, I think it was June 28th of 2025. He missed all of July, August, September, and October. So obviously a big loss. You touched on the fact that Christian has been with us since 2024, and you go back to the 2024 season and see the role and the impact that Christian had on this team and this roster and the success that we had. Not having that for 4 months last year certainly hurt us. So in many ways, the idea to bring him back was kind of a no-brainer.
Right.
Sean, same type of thing. Sean was tremendous for us in his rookie season in 2024. And then last year struggled with injuries, which unfortunately we had a lot of last season. You touched on Edison. He was the same. He was in and out. Sean was more out than in. But I think when you're looking at each of these 3 players that you just mentioned, each of them has tremendous upside, tremendous ability to help us now.
Right.
And in most of their cases have shown that when healthy, they can and will help us.
Right.
And there's that background and that track record of that.
Yeah.
So.
Let's talk about 2 players who did stay relatively healthy and did kind of contribute the levels that we expected at the striker position. Johnny Rodriguez, team's top goal scorer last year, hit double-digit goals for the 3rd year in a row in this league. Knight Pickering, He was a very clutch player, just turned 21 last season, will turn 22 later this year. What do you see from those two specifically, and what you saw from them in 2025, and then what you expect from both of those players going into 2026?
Yeah, I'll start with Johnny. I think Johnny was exactly what we wanted him to be and what I expected him to be, right? We sat here a year ago and talked about acquiring Johnny and double-digit goal scorer in this league each of the last 2 seasons. Well, another one under his belt. So we expect more of the same from Johnny. I think Knight took a step forward as well. He's still a very young player. He is still establishing himself as a consistent everyday USLer, USL championship player.
Yeah.
And I think last year was a major step forward for him. As you said, he was clutch. There were a few moments throughout the course of the season where he just came out and won games for us.
Yeah, a luxury to bring someone off the bench that does have the ability to just cut in on his left foot and have an individual moment of brilliance that might break the deadlock in an otherwise uninspiring game. And you need those moments throughout the course of a 34-game season.
For sure. So I think, when you look at both of those guys, it wasn't so much about replacing those guys. It was about how do we add to this?
Yeah.
And how do we become a better overall team in attack?
Right. Another young player, Elias Gartig, who I continually have to remind myself that he's a young player.
Yeah.
Because he just feels, both in the way that you interact with him off the field, but also the way that he carries himself on the field, he just feels so much older than he is. He obviously was one of only 3 players to play every single minute of the USL Championship season, not on the Las Vegas Lights, throughout the entire league. Yeah. It was him, Sean Suber, and a goalkeeper were the 3 players. I can't remember the goalkeeper off the top of my head.
So 2 position players.
Yeah, 2 position players, him and Sean Suber, who's now at the Battery, was previously with the Riverhounds, and was one of the better center backs in this league. So what did you see from Gartig, who got acquired in the middle of the 2024 season, was sort of someone that got brought off the bench during that playoff run to help shut things down, and then really became more of a leader and like a first name on the team sheet last year? What did you see from his development?
You just touched on it, leadership. Yeah. The ability to show that he is durable. That he is someone that can be a starter in this league and on a good team as well. His character, his ability to adapt, all intangibles that are not easy to find. Again, a no-brainer with Elias and him coming back.
Yeah. And then central midfielders, Giorgio Probo, Patrick Leal. Probo was a midseason acquisition. Yeah. Leal was here for the entire year. We'll get there later. A lot of incoming central midfielders as well. But what was positive that shone through a rough season last year for both Probo and Leal to have them continue to be a part of this group?
I think with Probo, his ability on the ball, his technical ability is really good. He came in August, I believe it was. And similar to Elias from the year before, when you come to this league for the first time, there is a level of adaptation. There's an adjustment period that it just needs to happen. As much as you want it to be fast and you want it to be seamless, that's not the reality sometimes. There are a lot of complexities in this league, in this country, with the travel and the weather and the time zones and artificial surfaces, natural surfaces. It is all things that just need time. And I think that with Probo, I think it ended up being somewhere around that 12-game mark that he ended up playing at the end, that was sort of his initiation period. And I think if you've had the luxury of seeing him over the course of the preseason, it's a different Probo. He's more comfortable. He's adapted. He's comfortable, familiar, and that's exciting. With Patrick is, I was having this conversation with Steve, our head of scouting, and there was probably no player on this roster that I know like Patrick Leal. Obviously going back to my time in Venezia when I had him there. So Patrick is someone that is incredibly important to a team because of his ability to play as a holding midfielder, as an attacking midfielder, to play wide. He is someone that offers grit and someone that can press, which is very important in a Devin Rensing system.
Yep.
And so just his ability to play multiple different spots on the field just made it very simple for us to retain him.
Yeah, he's the type of player that just ends up finding minutes over the course of a season because he's a Swiss Army knife. You can just plug him in and you know he's going to do a job and you know he's going to do it professionally.
Yep.
And that's a valuable piece to have on a roster. Final one. Go ahead.
No, I didn't want to cut you off, but you talked about when we were talking about Elias and you don't realize how young he is. I think a lot of people think Patrick is older than he is as well because he started so young. Patrick's 23. I mean, he's still very, very young as well. So
you sign in this league, you can sign guys out of college that are 22, 23, right? And Patrick's got multiple professional seasons under his belt at this point. So final one is Carver Miller. Served as the third goalkeeper last year. Obviously with goalkeepers, we'll talk about Jared Mazzola later, but Mazzola's been brought in to be the starter. And so there's not as much to talk about on the field here with Carver. But what I do want to ask you about Carver is, Carver came in on a shorter-term deal and has re-signed with us on a little bit of a longer-term deal. Why was that decision made for Carver Miller specifically?
Twofold. I think he showed a lot of progress on the field, on the training pitch last season, working with Max, our goalkeeper coach. And speaking with Max is very complimentary of the strides Carver has taken as a professional. He's still very, very young.
He also turned 21 last year, so he's right in that Knight Pickering age.
Yes. Yeah. Carver only played in 2 games last year, but showed well in both. And then the off-field stuff was just a breath of fresh air for us here. He is someone that he's just an incredible human being. He is very giving with his time, with his philanthropic work and his charitable work. He's a member of the community that I know our fan base has really enjoyed getting to know, and he is someone that is out there and active. He's visiting schools and children's hospitals, and that stuff matters. That stuff absolutely matters. The community's fallen in love with him. We've fallen in love with him, and we were happy to reward him with a little bit of a longer-term deal to help him continue to grow and play hopefully in some more games this year as well.
Man of the people, Carver Miller. We're excited on the content side of things and the comm side of things to have Carver back. I know a lot of fans are excited to see Carver back. He's someone that's done an amazing job, as you said, engaging with the community, engaging with the fans. So happy to see Carver back and happy to see him continue to develop as we go. Okay, that wraps up all the returners. So let's keep rolling through. Now I want to talk about the off-season roster build. Before we start diving into specific players, let's take a step back and look at this from a 30,000-foot view. You obviously go into the offseason, you're already thinking about what you want to do. You get those options done and you figure out, okay, these are the returners that are coming back, those 9 guys that we just listed. And now you've got all your players on a whiteboard and you're looking at all of them and you're going, okay, what do we need? Big picture. What needs to change about this roster? What were those big picture things that you wanted to address with this offseason's roster build?
Yeah, I think, the obvious one to point to is the lack of goal scoring. I think, if memory serves me, we were bottom in the league with 15 goals scored in open play last year. It's just simply not good enough. So I think when you step back, you're looking at the whiteboard, you're reflecting on the year that was, where do we absolutely need to get better? And obviously scoring goals was front and center. And that just doesn't mean going out and adding strikers.
Which you did.
Which we did. But it was, okay, if we're going to add strikers, how do we put those strikers in the best position to be able to do what they do?
Right.
How do we improve our wing play? How do we improve in the middle? How do we solidify the defensive line so that our now midfield and attacking groups have a little bit more freedom going forward and have a little bit more trust? Can our goalkeeper be a little bit more vocal and a little bit better distributing the ball and communicating with the back line and orchestrating? These are all things that will contribute to either a lack thereof or goal scoring.
Right.
And so while the final product of we need to score more goals was the end result, you're forced to look at it from a 360 lens.
Yep.
And that's sort of how we looked at it. We going into the offseason, we identified we need to get better at every position. And I think as we sit here today, I think we've done that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's very much you're a Green Bay Packers fan. You're an NFL fan, right? And you get to this age-old thing when draft season comes around, and it's like, no, this GM's a best player available kind of guy. But that really is, I think, the position you were in, where with only 9 players coming back, it wasn't like, oh, we don't need a center back. We don't need a right back. It's like, if there's a talented player available, let's have a conversation. See how we can get the most amount of talented players in the building, right? Sure. So
and look, like blessing and a curse. Our off season started a little earlier last year than it has in the past.
Yep.
We knew basically in September that we probably weren't going to make the playoffs and that there needed to be substantial turnover. Mm-hmm. And so, you work with that extra 6 weeks in the planning process and identifying who's a free agent and identifying where can we add these pieces so that you hit the ground running and you don't waste time.
Yeah. I think another thing from a 30,000-foot view is the experience and leadership piece. Mm-hmm. Just talk about what you saw from the squad in 2025 and how that would have affected the profile and type of player you went after this offseason.
Yeah, I mean, I think, it's on the record. Last year when we put a bow on 2025, I talked about I just didn't feel we had enough leadership in the room.
Yep.
And that's not an indictment on anyone. It's just, we just lacked it.
Yep.
And so we were very intentional this year with targeting that. I think that's why someone like an Aaron Gian became so attractive. Mm-hmm. I think someone like a Kyle Scott as well. Players that have been in this league, been there, done it. They command respect because of what they do on the field and off.
Yeah.
And we were very, very intentional with that. I think over the course of a long season, there are always going to be peaks and valleys. You never want to get too high and you never want to get too low. Mm-hmm. And it just felt like last season the lows were so low, mm-hmm. and we just really struggled digging out of those lows because we didn't have the resources to.
Yeah.
And that's just
right. And that's not just on the field, right? That's how that's when the team's coming in for training, that's going through team meetings, that's having that veteran leadership that goes, knows how to navigate those rough times, and also knows how to navigate the times when you're on a 5-game winning streak.
For sure.
And people start to get carried away, right?
Absolutely.
And that comes in all the small moments with guys like that. So let's start there. Let's start with Aaron Gian that you mentioned. Let's kind of go position group by position group on a lot of the new additions. So let's start with the center backs. Sure. So Aaron Gian is kind of the headliner there. Ben Ofemu, a big addition coming in from Indy 11. And then Nate Jones, who I'm including in the new signings because he's a new permanent signing, but was with the squad on loan last year. So you could stick him in that returner section if you want to. Sure. They kind of join Elias Gartig, and there's your 4 center backs. So first off, let's just talk about that group as a whole, and then we can kind of keep talking about individuals from there. But how do you view that center back room right now?
Oh, I'm very excited about it. Very excited about it. 2 left-footed center backs, 2 right-footed center backs, a center back that has vast amounts of experience in this league as a captain. Yep. Another one that is at the age of 25 is probably as experienced as you are going to get in a 25-year-old.
Yeah. Ofemu's played so many games. Yeah.
Indy 11, Miami, Philadelphia Union. Just a 25-year-old that is probably has the wealth of knowledge of a 30-year-old.
Right.
We've got athleticism in Nate Jones. We've got size in Ofemu. Well, we've got size in both of them.
Right.
You've got the ability on the ball with Gian, physicality from Gardig.
Yep.
Traditional stay-at-home defenders that can play the ball. Mm-hmm. So I think there's a lot of versatility and flexibility in our center back room. Whereas last year I thought maybe we were just a little bit too one-dimensional in the center back position.
And this is going to be a theme, but like open competition there.
Oh,
like
yeah.
Those are 4 players that like we could sit here and make the case for any 2 of those 4 to be a pairing that you place 30 games together, right? And you could easily see that. So tons of competition on the training pitch.
And I think you'll see that in every position as we continue to go down the list here.
Yeah.
But, you know, my job this offseason was to make Devin's job very difficult. Right. On a week-to-week basis.
Yeah, he's got to leave people out of starting 11. He's got to leave people out of the match day 18. So,
and the more stressed he is about who the 18 are going to be, the happier I will be.
Right, exactly. Let's talk about the fullbacks. Stay with the defenders. So obviously Sean Smart coming back. Added to that group is Nick Sesic on the right side, Jelani Forbes and Timi Antonoglu on the left side, and Blake Pope as sort of a swing guy that's right-footed, but is someone we view as that can play on both sides. So again, a lot of competition in that group as well. Yeah,
a lot of competition, a lot of athleticism in that group. A lot of ability to go forward with the ball and really push from the fullback position.
Yeah, Timmy's someone we've seen pick up goals and assists in preseason and has had a good preseason as more of an attack-minded left back. But you also have some profiles that give you more defensive profiles. So I think that's interesting.
Yeah, again, I think it all comes to the ability to build as complete a roster as you can, right? Yes, you always want to get the best players, but at the same time, I want to get players and I want to give my coaching staff the ability to play any which way.
Right.
And have the roster to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And I think if you look at the center backs that we just talked about, if you look at the full backs that we just talked about, that flexibility, that ability there is there to do essentially anything you want to do across a back line. If that's a back line of 3, of 4, of 5.
Yeah, wing backs, traditional fullbacks.
It's all there.
We didn't even mention that Nate Jones played at left back at times last year. Aaron Guillen has played at left back plenty of times in his career as a little bit more of an undersized center back. So tons of options, tons of competition for Devin and the rest of his staff to keep putting those puzzle pieces together, right? Let's go to central midfielders. I think this is a really interesting conversation. We talked about Giorgio Probo and Patrick Leal earlier as returners. Joining them is Kyle Scott, who you mentioned as a veteran coming in. He's coming through on a big transfer. He is a veteran that played a lot of games at a super high level for Orange County SC in this league. Got his move to England, and then we've been able to get him back over here. Abraham Oguere, a very young, exciting Ghanaian central midfielder with a ton of technical ability. Mark Ibarra, with a lot of experience over the last 2 years with Rhode Island FC, more of a traditional defensive midfielder. And then Carson Locker, a young player. So that's a pretty stacked midfield room once you add Giorgio Probo and Patrick Leal into that mix. How have you seen that competition developing?
Exciting.
Yeah. Exciting.
It was one of my great joys over the last few weeks, watching training sessions and seeing those midfielders compete. I think that will be one of the main strengths of this team this year will be our central midfield. I thought that was an area that we just lacked a little bit last year. And so the ability to add those players to the returning players and have a collective room that looks like that is exciting. You talked about Ibarra is a little bit more of a stay-at-home. Oguere is a little bit more dynamic. Probo is a little bit more of a playmaker.
Yep.
Kyle Scott is that deep line, going to thread the ball. So again, just midfielders that give you different qualities. So that Devin can now mix and match that as he sees fit. On a game-by-game, week-by-week basis. I think that's incredibly exciting.
Yeah. Let's dive a little deeper onto each of these individual players, because I think specifically here in central midfield, that's worth the time. Kyle Scott, what does he bring? What are the things that Kyle Scott does at a really, really elite level that makes him such a good player in this league?
It may sound simple, but his ability to just control a midfield, with just that extra second of time with the ball, with that extra second of time to help his teammates either set up defensively or get in position offensively. His ability to just create that little bit of extra space or wait that little extra time for a lane to open up. His ability to come back deeper, collect the ball, help us proceed up the field. These are all little things, but they're so crucially important to maintaining possession, recovering on defense, opening up on offense. These things just make a world of difference in game.
Yeah, I think Kyle Scott's a big assist before the assist kind of guy.
Absolutely.
Right? Like he's a central midfielder that offensively isn't going to show up in those traditional primary assist and goal categories quite as often, but he's going to be the player that really spreads the field. You're going to see him sitting in deep, pinging it wide to Pinzone, and then Pinzone takes player on, gets the primary assist to Gian Rodriguez. Like, those are the types of things you're expecting from a Kyle Scott, is that ability to just casually hit a cross-field switch and casually work his way out of a tight environment and open up and create a numbers up advantage for you.
His ability to break that first line is awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. And with the attack that we now have, if we can have someone break that first line and we are now going forward with the pieces that we have, I think that will be exciting, and that will cause a lot of problems for teams trying to defend us.
Yeah. Abraham Okiere, he's an interesting one for me. Yeah. Young Ghanaian central midfielder with a ton of technical ability from what I've seen in preseason. Just very naturally gifted, can work his way out of a tight spot like it's nothing. He's Ghanaian. You found him in the Finnish first division with FC Haka. How did this guy even pop up on the radar, and what excites you about him specifically and what he could do in this league?
Well, you touched on his ability to get out of tight spaces. I remember when I first watched him, and I mean, there are 2 or 3 defenders swarming him, and he gets out of it so gracefully and so elegantly. You're just almost in awe of it.
Right.
When you see him on video and then you see him live in person, you're a little taken aback because he's not small. But at the age of 22, he can actually still grow more. I think he can still come into his body a little bit. So I think he'll have to adapt a little bit to the physicality of this league because, playing in the top flight of Finnish football, maybe a little bit more technical than physical. Yeah. And I think, especially in the dog days of summer here in the USL, it can be fight.
You're in some fights. That's what I was going to say. Yeah.
But again, his technical ability jumps off the page. And I think adding that to the midfield always gives you opportunities to create, to just de facto defend because of his sheer ability to just hang on to the ball and possess it and not lose it.
Yeah.
So I think fans are going to be excited when they see him on the field. There's a level of interest when he touches the ball and you can actually see him going forward and what he can do with it. There's that little bit of a spark.
Yeah, it's similar to the way that like Knight Pickering can come off the bench and like at any point he could cut in on his left foot and stick it in the top corner and just like change the game for you. Okiere has that same quality in a different way. He's not going to like take 3 players on and score a goal. That's not quite like his profile.
No, but he can take 3 players on and open it up.
Exactly, right. And create that numbers advantage because people close him down.
Correct.
And then he slips a pass out wide to Pinzone or Azcona or Ben Mines or whoever it is. And then all of a sudden, like, there's a 2v1 because people have collapsed to him and he's worked his way out of a tight spot and just with a little bit of magic, right? So, Mark Ibarra, this is, I think, a case of targeting experience and targeting a different profile, right? To make sure you have a very complete midfield room.
Yeah, I mean, we'll tie it into the conversation we've already had about Kyle Scott and Okiere, right?
Yeah.
So Mark Ibarra is that piece that allows Kyle Scott to be Kyle Scott and allows Abraham Okiere to be Abraham Okiere.
Yeah.
Because if you just have a group of midfielders that are going forward all the time and there isn't that yin and yang relationship, you're going to be exposed. You're going to be opened up and susceptible to counterattacks and all of that. Mark is a midfielder in this league that his vision and understanding of the game is at a super high level. And his ability to understand what Kyle Scott is doing on the field, to understand what Okiere is doing on the field, and then be like, okay, well, this is what I need to do now so that they can do what they got to do, I think is a wonderful balance to have in the midfield.
Absolutely. Let's tell the Carson Locker story. How the heck did Carson Locker end up in Las Vegas?
Carson Locker was with FC Cincinnati too. He was with their academy. I had watched him a little bit throughout the season. Devin had also been on him.
For context, he's 18 years old.
Turned 18 at the end of 2025.
Right, so he's just turned 18.
Correct. It's one of those things where he was playing in Next Pro at the end of last season, but he was on an academy contract with FC Cincinnati too. So he didn't have a pro contract, which essentially allowed him to be a free player.
Yeah.
The technicalities of that I'm not going to get into, but essentially that's what he was. And so this offseason had, Devin went to watch him live in a combine. I connected with his agent. We had conversations about, is the time now to turn pro? What would that look like? What would the opportunity in Las Vegas look like? Granted, at this point, we were pretty far down the line with Cal Scott. We knew we were probably going to get him. We had Okiere already. So, you're aware and you're cognizant that you're not adding him to a room that is bare.
Yep.
And that there is going to be competition for minutes. But at the same time, we saw such a mature 18-year-old, an 18-year-old that is really technically gifted, and his understanding of the game is really advanced for his age. And he's come into preseason, and he's made it difficult on some of these guys. The competition is real. And I think, while you look at him as an 18-year-old, and the easy thing to say is he is a prospect and he's a piece that could be there for development and for the future. I mean, he is very much going to contribute in 2026. Yeah. There is no doubt about that.
Yeah.
The fact that he's 18 is just a happy bonus.
Every interaction I've had with Carson as well, when he crosses my path on the comm side, getting his announcement done, taking his photos, writing his press release, all those kinds of things, doesn't feel like I'm talking to an 18-year-old. He's super mature. That comes across on the field. He has like a level of confidence as a young central midfielder stepping into a fully pro environment that's really impressive. So I'm excited to see what Carson Locker does as well. Let's talk about some attackers. We'll just kind of group the strikers and wingers in as one here. The headline really is the two strikers you've added. So Manuel Arteaga, formerly of Tampa Bay, Venezuelan striker that scored a lot of goals in this league, won a title with Phoenix Rising, and then Alex Anderson, freshly announced as of recording. We're recording this on Wednesday afternoon this morning, and that was a late developing one here very recently. Those are kind of the two headline. Also got Ben Mines, who had a career year with Loudoun last year as a right winger coming from the New York Red Bulls Academy system, and then Henwala Buana, who comes out of the Sounders Academy system, has had a career that's been a little derailed by injuries, but has a lot of talent and a lot of ability, and impressed on trial and preseason, and is someone that we've brought in. So let's start with Manuel Arteaga, because he was kind of the first one of this group, and one that I know you were really excited about getting over the line. What does he bring, and what do you see as, maybe I'm just thinking about a typical fan that says, but we already have Johnny Rodriguez. So answer that concern for me.
Well, first, Emmanuel is a player that I've liked for a really long time. Full transparency, tried to get him before the 2025 season as well. He was under contract at Tampa. Didn't work out. But really excited to be able to get that one across the line. Proven goal scorers are not simple to find. They're not easy to get. They're not always available. Goals change games in this sport. We started the podcast earlier today talking about how few goals we scored in open play last year. Manuel alone last season in what he will tell you was a down year for him.
Right.
Had as many goal contributions as we had as a team. So, immediately that jumps out at you. You do a little bit of a deeper dive and you look at some of the successful seasons that Arteaga has had in this league. Playing with Cal Jennings in Tampa, playing in a 2-striker system when they won the title in Phoenix. And then you start to think about, okay, well, we have Johnny Rodriguez already. What could that look like, a pairing of them two playing together? And that's when it became really exciting. Obviously having those conversations with Manuel throughout the recruitment phase, keeping Johnny in the loop about, hey, this is someone that's coming in to play with you. And that it just became, the more we continued to go down that line, the more exciting it became.
Yeah.
And, like I said, goals change games in this league, and adding someone of that caliber to our front line, I think just makes us a significantly better team.
Yeah. Similar conversation, talking about Olex Anderson, someone with just blistering speed from St. Vincent and the Grenadines, who's an experienced international with St. Vincent. He is NCFC's all-time leading goal scorer. Obviously, context here, NCFC folded ahead of this season, so all of their players then become available. Talk about Olex, how excited you are to get him over the line here very close to the season on a very recent deal.
Yeah. For the longest time, didn't think that was possible. But sometimes opportunities present themselves, and you always need to be prepared for when those situations present themselves. And that was, his case was that. When you find out that North Carolina FC is going to fold, at this point, we are already pretty far down the line with Arteaga in conversations and trying to recruit him. So you're obviously paying attention to what has happened, but at the same time, you're trying to do the job that we're presently doing. You check in with his agent, you try to understand the situation, and you have to understand there's also when a situation like that presents itself and a team folds and there is uncertainty with players, I think there is a little bit of a time that needs to go by for them to just kind of digest what has happened. Yeah. And okay, what's next? Where do I go from here? Some of those players had multi-years contracts. Some of them were going to be free agents. I mean, Olex wasn't. He would have been under contract this year. So I think there was a little bit of a, okay, what's this going to look like? He is an international, so his visa now suddenly is not valid. He has to go back to his home country. So there's a lot of different moving pieces, right? We continued to have conversations with other free agents throughout the course of the winter. He was having conversations with other teams. For whatever reason, we got to a point at the end of February where he was still available and we wanted to make an impact. Yeah. And I think what made Olex ultimately a Las Vegas Light was his ability to play wide. Because, yes, you look at him and he has played mostly as a 9. But if you do a deeper dive and you see some of the minutes he's played with his national team, certain cases in certain games with North Carolina, he played wider. Yeah. And so it wasn't adding Olex to now be one of 3 strikers or one of 4 strikers. It was adding...
Which he can be.
Which he absolutely can be, of course. Yeah. But my thought going into it was not, am I going to have him available to replace one of my strikers?
Right.
My thought was, how do I get him on the field with my strikers?
Right.
And so when I'd reached out to his agent, I mean, probably a week ago, it happened fast, and said, look, I would love for myself and Devin to speak with Olex, because we wanted to explain to him what we were thinking.
Yeah.
And to his credit, he was just so open and so receptive, and seemed to genuinely, from the first moment, be really excited about Las Vegas as a team, as a community, really wanted to be part of this. And basically said to us, hey, I will do whatever I need to do to help this team win.
Yeah.
And so once we heard that, then it was, okay, we've got an opportunity here to really strengthen our attack in a way that we never have, right?
Right.
We talk about projects and roster builds and, year 1, year 2, year 3 of projects and where you want to be. And as we enter here, year 3 for me in this project, I've always said that final year always wanted to be the culmination of what we were working towards.
Yeah.
And I look at what we have in terms of a strikers group and an attacking room, and I can comfortably say that I don't think we've had that type of attack either of these last 2 years.
Yeah.
And so, here as we are a week before, or at the time that we signed him a week before opening day, to be able to add him to the collection of players that we already have just felt like such a great cap to the preseason, the off-season build. And it's like, okay, this is, we're ready to go here. We're going to attack 2026.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, I think it's super exciting. It's the type of move that you have to make if you want to win games and you want to be a team that competes at the higher levels, right? And when a good player becomes available, you acquire the good player and you figure out how it fits, right?
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
I'll quickly touch on Ben Mines. He's from the New York Red Bulls Academy system. Had a really great year with Loudon. He's like really high energy, hardworking style of winger. That obviously has a lot of synergy with what Devin is, right? And then Buana is someone that Devin has previous experience with at the Battery, impressed here, and the hope is that he continues to take steps forward. And he's someone that can play across the whole forward line, right? He can play underneath a striker, he could play as a striker in a pinch, he could play as a winger. Kind of similar to Patrick Leal, I would say, but as a forward player, right? Like he's someone that can
higher up the field,
higher up the field, but in that same way that like he's kind of a Swiss Army knife. You could kind of plug him in. He's someone you could have on the bench and be like, okay, well, if we need an attacking midfielder, if we need a winger, if we need like an emergency striker, Buana is someone that can fit a lot of those different roles. So I want to leave space there, and the reason I rushed through those players, I want to leave space to talk about the goalkeepers really quickly. Just announced Charlie Lamphere as a goalkeeper that will sort of compete with Carver Miller in that 2-3 slot. But let's spend the time talking about Jared Mazzola, who was spectacular last year for Sacramento Republic when playing, led them to last year's USL Cup final, was the best goalkeeper in that tournament. What did you see from Mazzola that made you comfortable going out and saying, that's our guy. That's the guy that's going to wear the number 1 jersey this year and can keep elevating this roster?
Jared is someone that
he's an absolute
his
gamer.
explosiveness in goal
really
jumps out at you. His ability to play with both feet. And, as I viewed Jared as in many ways as I viewed Raiko 2 years prior. Raiko was someone that had predominantly been a backup goalie. Similar in size and explosiveness, and was just someone that needed an opportunity to play and take the reins as a starting goalie. And, Raiko came here and he did that and had 2 good years with us. And we think that that's what Jared is going to be. I think if you look at last year, he was the backup to Danny Vitiello in Sacramento, but he played the USL Cup and was a massive protagonist for them getting to the final. His ability to save penalties cannot be understated. He has a very good save percentage on penalties. And then strictly from an off-the-field standpoint, just a tremendously wonderful human being. Getting to know him has been awesome.
I think fans are really going to like Jared.
Oh, yeah.
He's been every time he's come in the building. When he came in early on, he visited with his wife and walked through, and just a top class human being.
Yeah.
Really similar to Carver, and the same conversation we had with Carver earlier. I think fans are going to have a similar experience with Jared, and I'm excited for a lot of them to start meeting him and start getting to interact with him, because I think he's a top class human being. So.
He'll be a leader for us as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, we're at 45 minutes, and my producer Gabe is going to absolutely have my head if I go over an hour on this first episode. So let's keep it rolling.
Sure.
Let's talk about preseason and move away from the roster build.
Sure.
All of these players we've talked about. Now it's time for it to gel, right? And that throughout preseason under Devin Rensing. The team played 4 friendly matches across 3 weeks, 1 in Phoenix and then 3 in the Dominican Republic for the team's first ever international tour. I think we're the only club in the USL to go international for our preseason this year, which is a pretty cool thing at Punta Cana Resort, which was, you were there throughout the entire thing, and just an absolutely beautiful place to be doing a little bit of preseason. Maybe for you, maybe you wanted to be a little bit more miserable so that the guys are a little bit more focused and not as focused on being at the beach, but I still seemed like an incredible experience. So just give me like your overall thoughts. We don't really need to dive into like game by game or anything, but just as you look at this roster and it begins to gel, and it will continue to gel over the first couple weeks of the season. Devin Rensing's first preseason, he came in halfway through. Yep. He's got Jerson Echeverry and Liviu Bird, so 2 new assistant coaches to go alongside Max. So as that everything gels, what have you seen from the team throughout preseason?
Honestly, I couldn't be happier. I think, firstly, full credit to the guys. They really approach preseason the right way. As you said, you're going to essentially paradise.
Right, yeah.
Maybe it's easy to be distracted or just take a little bit of extra time to go to the beach and enjoy. But they absolutely came to work, and they did absolutely everything that we asked of them to do. And they were tremendous. And the same goes for Devin and the full staff. So I do want to flag that. I think being away together for 2 weeks on a resort here, more so this year than perhaps in others, was really important because of the amount of turnover we've had. We listed all the new players. We listed the new technical staff. So preseason is such an important time to forge relationships and bonds and connect. So being able to be together as a team for those 2 weeks, I think will do wonders for us throughout this season. We were able to do, meals together and different excursions, and guys got to enjoy the resort and pickleball and tennis and beach volley and all of these different things. And, also kind of break their little comfort zone as well, right? You're spending more time with people that you don't know, so you're going to get to know them, and now you forge relationships here, and you see these different little groups forming that you're like, oh, this guy's hanging out with this guy. Oh, I never saw that before.
Right.
And so I think the preseason there in the Dominican, it was great. It was great. It was a really cool experience. Obviously, when you go overseas and you travel, and it was a significant amount of travel, and there's always little things that can go wrong and sometimes will go wrong. But for the most part, I think both Devin and I, and I know Jose, are very happy with how it played out. We're back now. I think we are ready for opening day. Obviously a couple visa issues, things that you can't control, but in terms of a preseason and preparation, and I'm very happy with where we're at and what the Dominican Republic did for us as a team.
Yeah. So Orange County on Saturday, the team's back now, back in the building today, training out here at Cashman Field, heading off to California on Friday for a pretty short road trip. Orange County have the same coaching staff. They probably have maybe the most consistent roster in the USL Championship. They've got a lot of players back. They do have some new signings and have changed things up a little bit. They've played a bunch of friendlies. So what's your kind of take on Orange County and what you're looking to see from the team on this opening day on Saturday?
Yeah, I would answer that with I'm more interested in what we need to do. Obviously, from a tactical standpoint and what we think Orange County is going to do, that's probably more of a Devin question.
Sure.
But one thing that Devin and I have spoken at length about over the preseason and off season, as we head into this year, our focus is going to be about what we can do. Mm-hmm. Obviously, you're going to pay attention to what the opponent does and how they're lining up and who they have on their roster. But we feel confident enough with the team that we have that we should be able to dictate play. We should be able to control games. And the success that we have is going to be on us. And it's going to be in our control, and we need to be able to dictate what we want to do.
Right.
And so that is what I would say I'm looking forward to most in Orange County. It is, okay, this identity that we've started to establish in these first 4 weeks of preseason, how does that translate to the regular season? And how do we create and find that identity and continue to take it forward, find our Las Vegas Lights way for this year?
Yeah.
So that other teams then have to adapt to us.
Right.
And that is what excites me most about heading into this early part of the season, is creating that, putting that into practice and seeing how good we can be.
Yeah, and I would think from my perspective, at least looking at March, right, looking at this first 4 games, you start with 3 road games. You're not at home until March 28th against Monterey Bay. Orange County this weekend, on paper, at least the next 2 away games are difficult away games. Playing in Colorado Springs this early in the season at altitude with the cold, and then playing away. It's also finished first in the West last year and returning a lot of their players and a lot of their staff.
Not a great field in March either.
Yeah, and playing on a baseball field and all of those things, right? And so there's some really interesting tests throughout March, but I would think that, it's a playoff league. And we've seen many a case of teams starting well in this league and then tailing off. And the teams that tend to do the best in the playoffs when it really matters are the ones that figure things out at the right time and get hot at the right time. So from my perspective, at least, it's really looking at this March and being like, once we get past Monterey Bay, we want to be able to look at the team and say we see an identity and we see progress and the plan that the coaching staff has in place, and we see this group of players start to gel. If that doesn't happen immediately against Orange County or against Colorado, it's not time to hit the panic button yet. But you want to see the team taking those steps forward for you, at least for your, obviously, like, if I'm speaking to Devin, he's like, well, we have to win every single game, right? So, but for you as a sporting director, taking that, like maybe having to take that 30,000 foot view and be that voice in the room, I would think that's at least the way. But correct me if I'm wrong. What is your thoughts on kind of this first little segment of the season?
Yeah, look, I mean, I think you and I off the record have had conversations about how I like to break down the season. Right. I have my little increments of games, and I like to break it into certain sections. And I'm not going to disclose what I think would be an acceptable number of points in the first X amount of games, but I have that worked out in my head. And and again, I think, knowing that 4 of our first 5 are on the road, knowing that Olex probably won't be available for a couple of weeks. We're not going to have Arteaga on Saturday because of visa issues for both. Mark Ibarra suspended because of a red card that he picked up in his last game with Rhode Island. So just knowing that those first few weeks of the season is going to be a little bit of a fluctuation. The important thing there is to be able to clearly see that we're getting better week to week. Yeah, you know what? One of those games, I'm sure we're not going to look the best. Or maybe there's a stretch of the game where it's just not pretty. That happens. But dealing with it, adapting, learning from it, getting better, putting those clear ideas in place and seeing tangible results from the training field to the game field, I think that's what you're looking for
Yeah.
in this first block of games.
Yeah.
It's such a long season.
Mm-hmm.
You just want to make sure you're in a position there towards the end that you're fighting for what your goal is.
Right.
So, yes, Devin might want to win every single game, and others might want to win every single game, and I want to win every game, of course. But I think part of my job is also to be a little bit realistic and to just understand and make sure that we're on the right track and things are moving forward, and we kind of steady the ship that way. Absolutely.
Or just a buzzsaw. We've got 12 points from the opening 4 games, and
that too.
We're the best team in the league.
That'd be
and
great.
We're flying. And Olex has a hat trick. Artiaga has a hat trick. Johnny Rodriguez has a hat trick, and we're just
incredible.
Just rolling.
I'll buy you steak dinner if that happens.
Let's do it. Let's do
Okay.
it. I will take you up on that offer.
Awesome.
We'll close on this as we run up against time here. As you look at your roster build this offseason and you look at the whole season and what this means for the organization, what this means for you as a sporting director, what do you want out of this season? And as you built this roster, what did you have in mind for success, and what does that look like for you?
Yeah, I think, we've talked, there's been a lot of talk about the project, the Las Vegas Lights project, and since the new ownership of Jose and my arrival here. Ultimately what I want personally from a selfish standpoint is to be able to leave a place in a better spot than when I first got here. Mm-hmm. And I think, again, we're not going to talk about it because it's been talked about for a long time and often, but what I walked into at the beginning of 2024 is very, very different than what we have now.
Yeah.
And from a front office standpoint, from a technical staff standpoint, from a roster standpoint, players, I think this team is in a much better position as we enter year 3 of the project. And look, we talked about it at length. When you have a 3-year project, you want that 3rd year to be the culmination of everything that you've worked towards. And I genuinely, personally feel that this is the best position this team has ever been in since I've been here. And so I'm excited about that. I'm absolutely excited about that. And so I feel that while there could be a little bit of a stain from what last year was, I think once we start playing games this year, that will quickly go away, and people will realize, this is a new team, this is a good team, and this is a team that's going to be really competitive and be able to do some really good things on the field. Yeah.
Look, I'll say it for you so that you don't have to. Let's lift a trophy at the end of the year and have a toast, and things will be incredible. I'm really excited about this group. I know fans are excited to see this group hit the field. It's been a long off season,
Very long
and we're excited to see you guys at Cashman Field. Tune in across all the normal broadcast channels for the upcoming 3 away games, and then get your home opener tickets for March 28th against Monterey Bay FC. If you haven't already, get your season tickets locked in. Get out here. Let's have an incredible time at Cashman Field to kick off this season, support this new group of guys, and hopefully be there for the start of something pretty special here in 2026. So, John, thank you again for always taking ample time to talk with us and help fans break down the roster and peel back the curtain a little bit on how things work away from just what's happening on the field. I really appreciate it. I know a lot of the fans that listen to this podcast consistently really appreciate it. So thank you. Looking forward to having you back on the podcast later in the season when we have some games to evaluate. Sure. And we'll go from there. We'll see you guys all on March 28th against Monterey Bay FC. Thanks, everyone.